I am so sorry. You guys could not hear me. I was just talking. I was just going on. My microphone is supposed to automatically unmute, once my little intro goes through like the little cool music and stuff, and it didn't. And yeah. So Uncle Cool Water, thank you for reposting the stream and letting me know that you can't hear me because I would have just been rolling on. Going, what do you mean you couldn't hear all of that? Now I got to start over? No, no. But these are parts of the things that happen when you go live. It is what it is. Uh, I'm to this point, I've just gotten to just relax and go with it. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. But yes, what I was saying was I had received um, a letter from the NAACP talking about, voting rights, and it's crucial that we act now. Now, not to disclose my age, but yeah, I'm 53, soon to be 54, God willing, this month on the 24th of November. It's my birthday. I'll be 54 years old. And in the time that I've been voting since the age of 18, I've never had an issue. I've never had anybody um, mess with my voting ballot. I've not been turned away. I've gone to the wrong voting location. I have done that. And then I really didn't realize, because California is a little bit different, I guess, because they're always doing propositions. And you're constantly just voting on different things. And so this was just a ballot measure. And I thought all residents in the county, I thought it was more so like a county-wide thing, but it wasn't. It was more so to the city of McDonough. And I live in the city of Stockbridge. So just figured out I couldn't vote. I was like, oh, and, started paying more attention. But that was kind of early on when I initially moved to the city of Stockbridge and the neighboring city, McDonough and Henry County. And and Patty Cake says, made it, Grand Rising founder, Grand Rising to you too. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. So I want to get into this, gosh, how can I say it? It's it's weird. It's weird and it's gone. What happened to it? So basically, I received a document from from the NAACP. I thought it was weird because I'm no longer, I don't want to say like an active, I'm not an active member. I joined and then I chose to revoke my membership because I just didn't see them working through Black issues for the Black community like they're supposed to. But what in my opinion, what they have done is they've chosen Democratic political issues that the Democratic Party want to champion, and they've brought that into the NAACP. That's what I see, right? So I want to share that with you guys, and it's my mail, so I can share it. So I'm not, taking anybody else's mail, not sharing anything that I can't share. It belongs to me. It's my property at this point. So hopefully you guys can see it on the screen. Ugh, no, that's not what I want. Sorry, you guys. I'm like, why are you showing this when that's not what I want? I don't know why it keeps doing this to me. It is meant to be shared. And then we're going to get into Trump endorsing Cuomo, which is really crazy to me. Um, but yes, so this is literally a letter from the NAACP and it's addressed to me. But like I said, I want to say it's 2025, maybe 2023. I decided it was no, it was 2022. Sorry, 2022, because I was running for president, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I should join the NAACP, just to get involved and know things are going on. And it was like, it was very crazy. And then I learned how much like I said, they don't support Black people. So I was like, I'm out. Send me my money back. So they did. And they were very respectful and it happened and I got my money back. There was no issues. But I guess I'm still on their mailing list technically because at that because of that. And so I received this and says, your right to vote is not secure. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I've been voting since I was 18. I don't have any issues. I vote in my county that I've lived in the past 6, now 7 years. Never an issue. Moved back and forth from Georgia back to California, went to California, no problem voting. Moved back to Georgia, no problem voting. I've never had an issue since I was 18 years old. What are you talking about? But this is the fear mongering, and in my opinion, it's democratically run because the only people yelling about voting rights right now are the Democrats. I don't see any Republicans running around voting about it unless they're talking about people that are here illegally in this country that shouldn't be able to vote. Now, that part, yes. So it says since 2020, since 2020, really? 30 states have enacted a total of 78 laws to restrict voting rights. Most of those states require that you just have a driver's license, right? Or at least an ID card, and that you are actually a naturalized or legal citizen of this country. I don't have a problem with it. Sorry. 17 other states have proposed such legislation. These laws limit access, disenfranchise minorities, what? And discourage the exercise of your fundamental right to vote. These people are crazy, but this is what I got in the mail. Okay. We cannot be silent. We can't assume that our right to vote is safe. Remember that right wasn't even granted until just 60 years ago, and they've been chipping away at it ever since. No, they're not. When? Like I said, I have not personally. Let me know in the chat if you've had an issue voting in this country. If you're a Black American and you've had an issue voting in this country since you turned 18, let me know. And I'm sorry I passed over this other inflammatory language. So, and Congress is considering further restrictions to take place nationally, which means nowhere is safe and neither is our democracy. We actually have a republic. They kill me with this. You know, this is Democratic lingo. And Young Republican says, no. He says, I just voted, right? And I'm gonna vote today after this. Hi, Black Republican. Sorry, Young Republican and Black. This is hilarious to me. Like, I'm actually gonna exercise my right. I don't know. I might film outside. I'm definitely gonna get a sticker. That says I voted. And he says Republican down the line. I don't know. You know, a lot of the voting, I said the how should I say it? Let me wrap my head around this. The positions that people are running for right now in my particular city, I live in the city of Stockbridge, Georgia. Sorry, TMI. But here the positions are nonpartisan. So they're not Republican or Democrat, which is kind of cool because they're council positions, mayoral positions. We don't have any commissioners running right now, but most of the positions are nonpartisan, which is cool because that means that they have to actually do the job for the people that they serve. I'm independent, but I vote for the best person for the job. So if that best person is Republican, they get my vote. If they're Democrat, they get my vote. If they're independent, they get my vote. If they're libertarian, they get my vote. I just want the best person for the job. And you are New Jersey. Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm Black and Republican. So I know who you are not voting for. I should say that. I know you're not voting for up there. Um, and Patty Cake says, I actually did in Northern California with the Bush Gore election. Really? I'm sorry you had an issue. Northern California. So that would have been like what, San Francisco, Sacramento. Because I mean, and this is kind of silly, anything past LA County, they call it Northern California, which is crazy, but it is what it is. And Dr. C says, greetings, founder. Greetings to you too. Oh, it's Clarence. Hi, Clarence. I should have recognized the avatar. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Haven't seen you in a while, sir. He is the best Uber driver anybody can ever have. He's amazing. And then it says, well, they're counting on our silence. Put my whole name, just my whole government situation, right? They're counting on us not paying attention to the elimination of mail in ballots. We already have absentee ballots for a reason. And primarily, those absentee ballots are for people that physically are mentally able to vote, but physically they can't get there, right? That's one. And then the other is for people that may be overseas working, right? But they're still American citizens, so they can vote. And then our military, right? If they're deployed, they still have the ability to vote. And that's why they vote absentee. We don't need mail in voting. We never did. And they are crying for it. Like, oh my gosh, they're going to eliminate mail in voting. They should. And Dr. C, thank you so much for reposting the stream. To shorter deadlines, it should be a national holiday to vote, period. Everybody should get the day off. We should all be able to vote and then go get ice cream, as far as I'm concerned. It should be a whole thing, right? It should be like voting and junk food day because there's so much stress, right? You just want to have some comfort food. That's all I'm saying. And then to racial gerrymandering, stop it. Y'all lost. This is so Democrat right now. You're telling on yourselves. I'm just saying, you're telling on yourselves. Two, draconian ID requirements. That's not draconian. I just showed a video yesterday of a gentleman bragging in New York City that he voted for Mondani 6 times because he was not required to show ID, and he just came up with 6 fraudulent addresses. He admitted that on camera. And you're calling it draconian? This stuff, this mental illness, this is mental illness right here. And the threat of ICE raids to keep people who are eligible to vote away from the polls. Are you dumb? ICE is not at the voting polls. They're not there. They're stop that. You're see, this is that craziness. And young Republicans says, I showed my ID. You're supposed to. They're supposed to verify, right, that you are who you say you are, right? And that it matches your registration that you signed up for on the internet. Or even if you did it by mail, it's uploaded into a database. So when they pull your ID and they pull your name, it shows that you actually registered to vote and everything's in alignment. This is how we actually do protect our voting in this country. We have to have parameters and laws and rules. We can't just let people walk around voting wherever they want to, whenever they want to, how many times they want to. And that's a federal crime, by the way. So we cannot be silent. We cannot assume. I'm sorry, I'm trying to make this bigger for you guys so you can see it too. That our right to vote is safe. Remember, that right wasn't guaranteed. I read this already to the 60s. It says, that's why you, me, all of us must speak up. We have to let our elected officials know that we're watching them and that we won't tolerate their support of restrictive voting legislation. You sound crazy. Uh-oh, y'all. Come on now. Simply sign and return the enclosed voting rights petition. Yes, they did send me a petition. I didn't copy that because I thought unnecessary. It says, we'll take a forwarding it to Senator Raphael Warnock. Anybody out here in the crowd, Warnock fans? I'm not a fan of this man. And I'm definitely not a fan of Ossoff. The reason why I'm not a fan of theirs, simply put, they're okay with men being in girls' bathrooms. Yes, this pastor, this senator, yeah, who claims to be a man of God, he's okay with men going to the bathroom with little girls. He is. At the end of the day, you have to be compassionate to these people. No, I don't. Your sexuality does not equate compassion. Why is that even a conversation? Really? Seriously? That's how I'm supposed to like interact with people based on their sexual preferences? That's weird. That's not how I deal with people. Okay. And usually that's the last thing I'm going to talk to about someone about. That's weird. Okay. It's creepy. It's pedophilic. That's what it is. So at the same time, request, your wallet because if you can send just 35 or $50. So of course they're asking for money, right? They're asking for money. All right. So now, let me see if I can get to the next one I want to go to is the back of the letter. Is this the back of the letter? Trying to find it. Oh, sorry, you guys. Things are popping up everywhere. That's not what I want. Where'd it go? Nope, that's the front of the letter. I wanted to show you guys the back of this letter because I thought it was really important. And thank you guys for just joining me here this morning and go with me through this because I'm sorry. It was very, it's just disheartening, right? When people use an organization like this to propagate another party's agenda. I hope I said that in a clear way. I wouldn't like it even if it was the Republican Party doing it. Okay. The NAACP is supposed to be independent of both and really focused on championing issues for the for Black Americans. Like that's why it was put in place, right? Am I wrong? And young Republican says that's right. And it says, I would vote for Silwa if I lived in NYC. Okay. And yes, yeah, it's one of these things. This should not be used as a political tool, but that's how they're using it. So it says this work NAACP empowerment programs have been doing for 116 years, but we have over 400 years of discrimination and racism to overcome. So we still have lots of work to do. I don't disagree with the second line, but what you're doing is the reason why we're not moving forward because you keep championing issues for a political party and their agenda as opposed to really just being focused on the people, right? And moving forward. Now, I've had people say, well, maybe we should just infiltrate the NAACP and take it over. Could we do that? We totally could. Would it be worth it? Is the question because they've done so much damage to this institution that there's no respect left, right? So even if you go in and you infiltrate and you try to do everything that's right, there's always going to be somebody there, unfortunately, from the Democratic Party, because that's who owns this organization, in my opinion. They own them in the undercurrent that they only support Democratic um, views and candidates. That's it. That you sold your soul. You sold your soul to it. And that's what you're doing. And Young Republican says, we have done that. Okay. I mean, like I said, if we were to infiltrate, I'd get it, but I just don't see the infiltration. And Brother Muko, yay. Brother Muko, thank you for reposting the stream and joining us this morning. And Mark from the Soil, thank you for reposting the stream and joining us here this morning. But there were two more items that I wanted to pull up that they sent. Darn it. Sorry, you guys. I keep wanting to pull up the actual. It's bad. It's like I want to pull up a certain document and then I pull it up because I minimized it, right? Pull up what I minimized and then it shows me something else. I'm like, stop doing that. I've got not a ton of stuff saved on my drive, but enough, right? I've got enough. Okay, let me see if I can get this up here. All right, told you guys I don't have producers. And Brother Muko says, Grand Rising to you too, Brother Muko. I'm up here, I'm just fussing. about the NAACP. It says, "Why we fight." It's duh. My goodness. 30 states. The NAACP empowerment programs um, counter these discrimination proposals with extensive lobbying efforts and grassroots campaigns to register and encourage voters. So they have lobbying ability. Why haven't you used this lobbying ability to secure reparations? And even if you don't want to call it reparations, restitution. Why don't you use your lobbying ability to make sure that you fight discriminatory lending practices that are still going on today that have disenfranchised Black Americans that want to start businesses? Why aren't you lobbying for that? You are championing all this, in my opinion, is about people that are here illegally, that you want them to be able to vote because Black people have not had an issue since the 1960s with voting. And if they have had an issue, because Patty Cake said that she did have an issue um, in Northern California, you know, during the Bush Gore election. And that was a messy election, by the way. That was super messy. Like it went down to Florida, people talking about the chafes and everything because they had manual voting ballots, if you guys remember that at that time. And Brother Mungo says the NAACP doesn't really want a system of justice for the victims of racism. They don't. They want us to remain victims because as long as they can use the victimhood, right, to stir emotion and, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did this to us. I'm like, shut up. I hate to be rude. I hate to be rude on it, but you don't care about Black Americans. You are okay using our plight, right, to further your cause and position. You use the plight of Black Americans, right? And you're using it to basically fight for the rights of illegal people. You're talking about they're going to get rid of mail-in voting. They should. Stop being dumb. It should have never been done in the first place. But oh my gosh, there was a pandemic. So we did it. And then they found all of these irregularities. There, come on, stop. And people are still voting more than once. Like I said, I showed the video the other day. Man admitted to voting 6 times. 6 times for the same person in the state of New York. I'm sorry, in the city of New York. Just went to different voting polls because they don't ask for ID. So I wonder how many people illegally they're going to try to get to vote. They better find that stuff. They better, with a fine-tooth comb. I'm just saying. And your Republican says yes. And he says, that's how Mandani wins. Exactly. That's exactly how he wins. He does not win without illegal people voting. That's why they don't have voter ID. Come on. We're not dumb. We're not dumb. Sorry. Maybe our parents, not us. So your voting rights are under siege. No, they're not. Stop that. States in red have made restrictive changes to voter ID, mail-in voting, or ballot collection requirements since 2020, right? More such changes are sure to follow if we allow them to win our silence. And if you look at a lot of these states, even though, and New York is there. Interesting, right? So they changed some things here in New York, and y'all are pretty, loosey goosey with your stuff. And then Brother Muko says, this is the gains of New York all over again. Absolutely. Absolutely. Your petition will help us fight for your rights. I'm not signing the petition. I'm just letting y'all know that. But I just needed to share with you the craziness. Now, this one's going to get you. They sent me stickers. Not that I don't like stickers. I'm not saying I'm not a sticker person. But I found these stickers interesting. So let me share these with you guys. Let's see. Hold on. There we go. I had to drop and drag everything manually. I'm sorry. These stickers are ridiculous. Advocacy is the new Black. Okay, this is why people have Black fatigue. Because of nonsense like this. Advocacy is the new Black. Are you serious right now? Stop using us as your emotional support pets for your causes. Knock it off. Stop using Black people. Figure out something else. Figure out another talking point, figure out somebody else to use, but stop using us. See, to me, this is a Black American. These are people who think they're Black. Does that make sense to anybody? we suing we suing everybody? We suing everybody? Really? Not we are suing everyone. You think you're Black, you're not Black. You're not a Black American, you're a disgrace to this country. And if you are here naturalized, you need to be deported. I'm all for revoking citizenship at this point. I'm good. Get off the soil. I'm so about it right now. Protect our 2026. No, you're not going to have a 2026. Keep on. Keep doing stuff like this. Y'all ain't going to have nothing left. And I'm okay with it. I am so about it. I am so about the Democrats never winning another election again. Your party is imploding. We know that you are socialists. We know most of you are communists. You don't care about this country. You hate the United States. And my whole thing is you should all have your citizenships revoked. We figure out where you want to go to on the planet and move you there. Get off the soil. Get out of this country. You don't want to be here. You don't like it here. And I'm okay with that part, but you got to go because you're not helping the country, hating the country. It says, but did you vote? And then it has an NAACP down here. It could be, two doing, but did you vote? Yes, I voted. And I know exactly who I voted for. Right? Generation Black. See, this is stuff done by non-Black people. Black Americans wouldn't be doing this. And if they are, shame on them for doing this nonsense. But yeah, I needed to share that with you guys this morning. Sorry, I kind of went on a rant and a tirade, but I guess unless you've subscribed to the NAACP, you might not see it in your inbox or in your mailbox, but I did. So, thank you. Thanks, young Republicans. You're doing great. It says that's why Cuomo is problematic, right? He said he was without papers. Yeah, but guess who just endorsed him for mayor? Trump. And I get it because it's like, okay, shot or poisoned, right? You're gonna die either way, but how do you want to go? Slowly? Or do you want it quick? You want it quick and easy, like, poof? Or do you want to be like, oh, let me sit down for a minute. The poison is not completely in my bloodstream yet. Maybe there's hope for me. Maybe we can suck out the poison and and I won't die completely. Just saying. Just saying. He endorsed Cuomo. Like, this is shot or poisoned. Sorry. The night before the New York City mayoral election, President Donald Trump endorsed former Democratic governor and current independent candidate. He's not an independent, he's just a Democrat. He just did that so he could stay in the race. Andrew Cuomo. And Republican says that was a no lose for him, but it hurts the party. Yeah. Yeah, because how do you square this? How do you square this? Things are wild and woolly. I'm just telling y'all. So the details Trump wrote on Truth Social, whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. And he's not wrong on that. Like I said, shot or poison. So you must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. He is capable of it. Mandani is not. He urged New Yorkers to vote for Cuomo over the Republican candidate Curtis Silwa, right? Writing a vote for Silwa, who looks much better without the beret, is a vote for Mandani. That's the insult. You actually have somebody that have the stones to run as a Republican. You endorse Cuomo? sucks, bro. It's just ugh. I don't like any of it. And Uncle Corder says, "Real talk. Trump don't have a lot of choices in New York. He doesn't. This is you can't. I mean, I get it. Like I said, it's the shot or poison scenario, and I know that unfortunately, Sliwa didn't have a lot of support, but had he got the backing maybe of Donald Trump, it would go well for him better than Cuomo. Because see, Cuomo had to step down from the governorship. If we don't recall, hello, there was like a lot going on with this dude. You know, sexual harassment, just a lot of nonsense going on in his office. Just saying. Just saying. And there would be no Republicans if Cuomo had his way. Exactly. It's not. And Uncle Coolwater says, just feel like he just wasn't gonna endorse no Muslim, right? Because he sees what the Muslims are doing while on American soil. Yeah. And sincerely, Lawless, thank you for reposting the stream and joining us this morning. Um, oh, they had a long time feud. They have had a long time feud. That's what Young Republican says. So Trump has criticized Sliwa in the past, asking in a Fox News interview, is he really a Republican? He has also threatened on multiple occasions to withhold federal funding from New York City if Mandani wins, which he repeated in his True Social post. Here's the deal. He can't control if federal dollars go to the city or not because that's outside of his purview. Okay. He can be like, well, now he can refuse to send money to the state level. And then the state would have to figure out, okay, taxes, whatever, whatever, to get down to the local level where Mandani is actually mayor. But he can't stop federal money from getting there. He can't. Now they could, if they apply for a grant, from the city of New York and they're applying for illegal immigrants, you know what I'm saying? They can deny that kind of grant. I'm just saying, but there's not anything directly that the Trump administration can do to the mayor. That's why we have churches. That's why we have separation of powers, right? And it says, who was a Republican candidate running in New York and were they a good candidate? It was Sliwa. That's who I'm talking about right now. I want to say he was like a Hell's Angel kind of guy, and he was like defending people on the subway. He's old, not old. I'm not trying to be like that, but he's around Trump's age. Okay. He's old dude, old hat. Okay. But he's old school in the sense that he is about traditional values. He is about, people getting to work, starting businesses, not overtaxing people, right? He understands that you can't just give people free stuff. Yeah, he was a guardian angel. Thank you. Um, I know I said Hell's Angels. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the biker gang. No, it wasn't a biker gang. He was a guardian angel, and he was. I don't want to say they were like a militia or anything like that, but they privately protected citizens where the public police would not. And he's done it for decades. And so Mandani's response at a campaign event in Queens, New York, Mandani said, in these final days, what was rumored, what was feared, has become naked and unabashed. The MAGA movement's embrace of Andrew Cuomo is reflective of Donald Trump's understanding that this would be the best mayor for him, not the best mayor for New York City, not the best mayor for New Yorkers, but the best mayor for Donald Trump and his administration. He also posted on X writing, congratulations at Andrew Cuomo. I know how hard you worked for this. Vigilante. Okay. So you're saying he's a vigilante. Yeah. Is our problem. Yeah. It's crazy. So, yeah, you've embraced a former Democrat who hated you, by the way. We won't even go back to like what happened with COVID before, all that stuff happened between you. But I'm like, he's a failed candidate. He's not going to win. He's going to take away Democratic votes. He's going to take away Republican votes. But Cuomo is not going to win. I'm sorry. Sliwa was your best way out. He was your best option. And the reason why you didn't support him, Donald Trump, and I'm telling you to your face, is because he would have gave you a hard time. He would have not capitulated to you. He would have stood up in your face, and you would have had to have the stones to have that man to man conversation because he's a man all day long, 10 toes down. Okay, and that's what you didn't want to have to deal with. Let's just facts are facts. Facts are facts. You don't have to like it. This is what it is. He says, but a good one. He was. He's a good vigilante. He wasn't bad. It's all for the people. So this is how the media covered it. Mr. Mandani, for his part, has sought to link Mr. Cuomo to Mr. Trump throughout the campaign and included a spokesperson for Mandani saying this is absolutely the nail in the coffin for Andrew Cuomo. Called Mandani the socialist mayoral candidate and included both the details of Trump's Truth Social post as well as various comments from Mandani and his campaign. Wrote that this election will be key barometer for Trump as his Republicans, as polls show the president's support waning and as frustration grows with the government shutdown. Crazy. Republican says he may have his flaws, but he was the best. Yeah. And Brother Muko says there were gang guardian angels, okay, guarding white white supremacy. Guarding what? White supremacy. Yeah. But they did help other people though. I mean, if you go back to the history of Hell's Angels, they protected the people. It wasn't about their color. Now there were some factions. I'm not going to say there weren't. There were some factions of the Guardian Angels that were more militia type, and they were not. They were about the people that look like them. They weren't about everybody. So I can't disagree with your statement, Brother Muko. I'm saying there was a little bit of both, and a lot of times that's how it happens. But this is a bad move, in my opinion, for Donald Trump. It's a bad move. I understand it's shot or poison, but Cuomo is he was found guilty of harassment. Like, what do you think is going to happen again? Like, he's going to be tied to all of these things. I can imagine living in New York and just seeing things on redial while he had to step down from the governorship. That's why we have Kathy Hochul in the first place. If you wanted to know where she came from, because she was the lieutenant governor and she had to step in his place when he stepped down. And New York State has been a mess ever since. Stuff is crazy. And you said, and Young Republican says, I knew black guardian angels. Yeah, there were black guardian angels as well. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Wow. So that's what's happening, y'all. Whew. Man, I am just appalled. Mhm. And Young Republican says he was cause. He was cause? Okay. That doesn't make sense, but send me something else. So I can read it in context. Why are you can't okay, well, I guess he can consider everything he wants to. All right. So the full-blown socialist. Here we go, y'all. Obama and Mondani share phone call ahead of the NYC mayoral election. Former President Barack Obama spoke with New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mondani on the phone on Saturday to offer compliments to his campaign and other advice. We always knew. We always knew you were okay with socialism. You just had to have somebody have the stones to actually, say it out loud. So, well, they were given privileges by white supremacists to do what they did because soldiers didn't mess with them, right? But the black people got out and started a guardian angels like the Black Panthers, right? We wouldn't get the same support, right? And they destroyed the black guardian angels, from what I know. Clarence, you might want to clarify that, or Black Republican, you might want to clarify that. But I think that's how that situation went down. So, Brother Muko, like I said, I can't argue with that. That makes sense because that's how it always is, right? We're trying to defend ourselves. Like, oh my gosh, the black people, we can't have the black people defending themselves. They have to be dependent on us we'll defend you. No, because when I'm dependent on you, I'm giving over my free will, right? First of all, and I'm giving you control when I can be control of myself and my family and my safety. Stop asking me to depend on you and then you don't protect me at all, right? To me, that's a lot about what this race is. So Obama has not formally endorsed Mondani, but told Mondani that his campaign has been impressive to watch. Obama also reportedly told Mondani that he was interested to watch Mondani's political career past Tuesday's election and offered to be a sounding board in the future. What's crazy about this whole situation, in my opinion, is that this man has not had his naturalization for 10 years. It's only like 8 years old because he got his other position, like his city council or whatever, a few years back. He's only been he's been a naturalized citizen less than 10 years. He's running for mayor. Yeah, that's a problem because he's not an American at all. And mm, they've allowed this nonsense. They've just allowed this stuff. And Michonne says, a mess ever since. And she says, we are girl boycotting today in front of the Board of Election. Thank you so much for being a sounding board, Michonne. It says, I would like to see pictures of the Black Guardians. Okay. Yes, most of them are foreigners. And NYC is ran by all foreigners. Yeah. And that's the craziness that's happening. Brother Mugo says facts. Yeah. That's the craziness that's happening right now in our country, that there are a lot of people that are not of the soil. And what I mean by that is you can't trace your family back to the 1700s. And in my opinion, if you cannot trace your family back to the 1700s, you shouldn't be allowed to run for office. Now, a lot of people be like, oh my gosh, that means President Trump couldn't be president. Exactly. Exactly. And you want to sit here and be like, but look, you get these people over here from socialist countries and you wonder why we have socialism. Hello? Like Minnesota is completely ravished with criminal behavior because they brought criminals over here. They ran from their country because the people over there wanted to put them in jail or kill them because of the crimes they were committing. And they came over here and you think that they weren't going to be the same kind of people? Yes, I'm talking about Somalis. Always involved in some crime. Always. Prove me wrong. Look, I'm going to do that little Charlie Kirk thing. Prove me wrong. Tell me I'm not right. I can't hear, founder. What do you mean you can't hear me? Let me know if you can't hear me, everybody. He says like one or two, really. And then your Republican says, I personally met them. Okay. And says, I don't like Sliwa's mouth, but he is the best choice. Wow, that's crazy. Can you guys hear me? Let me know because Brother Muko says he can't hear me. So let me know because I know my microphone earlier, it was on mute. It's not on mute and I can hear myself in my ears, but that doesn't mean much because obviously I'm sitting here. But if anybody else, okay, so April says you can hear me. Thank you so much. So Brother Muko, I hope that it clicks in and you can hear me. Okay, good. Thank you so much, Young Republican, for letting me know that you can hear me. But yeah, this is crazy. We get these people over here. Man, I want every single Somalian that was a refugee and their children that they had on this soil removed. You can go back home now. I think it's good. I think it's safe. Do you guys think it's safe to send them back to Somalia? I think it's safe. I think it's great. Oh, you know what? You can take Ella Omar with you. Take her back with you. She can leave Congress. She can be deported as well. Revoke her citizenship forever. I don't even want to come here on vacation. I don't want to ever see you again unless it's, via satellite. wherever you're from, because y'all ran from your country because you was doing wrong over there, and they wanted to eliminate you. So you ran. They don't want to eliminate you because you were doing anything right. They want to eliminate you because you're criminals. It's crazy. Absolutely insane. So, for context, what New York Times wrote that Barack Obama's lack of formal endorsement is keeping in his general practice of avoiding any intervention in municipal races since he left office. He's always stopped that. His practice of it, he's always in somebody's business. Oh, thank you, Brother Muko. I'm glad you can hear me now. But you know what? He's always in somebody's business. Stop that. That's such a lie. It's so disingenuous. Whatever. Noting that he has endorsed mayoral candidates exceedingly rarely. Only when it benefits, right? And he can't endorse this because this is socialism. But you can't get away from it either. It's crazy. So other Democrats, including Senator Chuck Schumer, have not yet endorsed Mondani. No, because they don't want to be tied to socialism. They're slightly intelligent. It's going to be weird. Just saying. Mondani said, I appreciate the call of President Obama and his support for the movement that we've created. I appreciated his words. I appreciated his time, and I appreciate this movement for putting us on the brink of delivering us a new city in this place. That's terrifying, because here's the thing: without capitalism, right? Without actual proper structure, right? Because you can't tax the people to death to get you out of where you are. You have to have proper commerce in place to bring in and generate the revenue that's necessary and needed to build up your infrastructure, period. That's just basic. And you don't have it because you have taxed people into oblivion. There's like a tax for just owning your car if it's a gas vehicle or something stupid. They're like doing what they're trying to do in California, tax people for having gas vehicles or certain other vehicles. It's really weird. And Michonne says, I can't get anything done in a city that doesn't know what to do. They don't. It says, we need American federal intervention. Hear ya? Okay. Yeah, we need answers. Yeah. And I mean, and I understand exactly what you're saying, and Young Republican says, right. It, it's gotten to the point where allowing, I should say, individuals from socialist, communist countries to get involved in our politics has been to our detriment. Because people know, well, if I'm an American citizen and these are people that are naturalized, then I can run for political office. I can do this, I can do that. Well, you got to remember, it's not the boogeyman, but there are people like the Rockefeller Foundation, the WEF, the IMF, the United Nations. These are people that truly believe in socialism and communism. It is their religion. It is what they want to see played out, and we are the last bastion of freedom. The United States, we are it. And we have to stand up. We have to. So even if Mondani wins, the people of New York, you need to be on notice of how it's going to affect your lives, right? And you also have to be willing to participate to shut whatever he does down. Okay? You don't get to sit back and go, oh, well, we lost. There's nothing we can do. There's everything that you can do. There is everything that you can do. And you make sure that you keep yourselves protected legally through the legal process of your local municipalities. And you don't let things get out of control and run amok. Because, see, People claiming we're going to have free bus rides and we're going to have free this and it's got to come from somewhere. And you don't have the money. You don't. It was all spent on people here illegally. And it still is being spent on people that are here illegally. The first thing that you need to do in that city is remove everybody from there. So my recommendation is make sure you're calling ICE 24/7 on any and every single person you can. They look illegal. Call ICE. They have something set up. You're like, yeah, we got a little setup over here. Let them know the area, the block, what the people look like. Take screenshots if you need to, and send them to ICE. Yeah, make it. What I'm saying, make it your job to expose everything going on in New York when Mandani wins. That's all I'm saying. And you've got the power to do that. That's where that wonderful little freedom of speech comes in. Freedom costs, and it will cost you everything if you lose it. Because it's a fight to keep it, definitely a fight to get it back. So the New York Times both noted the headlines that Obama praised Mandani's campaign. The Hill also included Mandani's post on X from Sunday, in which he made fun of candidate Andrew Cuomo for his endorsement of President Donald Trump. Wrote that Mandani spews word salad in response to the call and called Obama's lack of formal endorsement a snub. Rich people problems, first of all. Because Mandani, as much as he cries socialism, he's not living in a hovel. He actually has a six-figure salary from the position that he's in, working in council. So he's not, it's weird. Like socialists are some of the most wealthiest people that will never suffer the consequences of the policies that they put out on others. They are. They'll never see beans and rice because they have the money to have filet mignon. But they'll tell the people, oh, it's good. Don't worry. We'll make sure you have beans. We'll make sure you have rice. We'll make sure you have this and that. Yeah. Young Republican said he was an assemblyman. Yeah. And he has a six-figure salary from that, which isn't a lot of money in New York because everything is so expensive. But at the same time, he's not begging bread. He is not poor. Okay. He comes from a very wealthy family. Sorry. Again, wealthy people are usually like your liberals and your progressives and your socialists because they're like, everybody should be able to have this. Well, how about this? How about they tax you, Mr. Mandani? Put your money where your mouth is. Why don't they tax your family? Why don't y'all pitch in? Because you won't, because you'll fleece the people of New York to live on the hill. And you'll let the people at the bottom of the hill fight over the scraps. Because that's where socialism leads to. It does not lead to anything prosperous for anyone, ever. And a young Republican says he's from a rich family. Yeah, he is. A very wealthy family, well-to-do. So he's not, like I said, a lot of these people that spew this ideology, which is their religion, don't live it. They do not live it. And that should be very telling of anybody who votes for them. It's like they're telling you, we should have free this. No, they didn't get it free. They're not just out there doing things for free. They're getting paid. People are supporting them. Again, they want to dismantle this country from the inside out. And the only way to do that is getting in at the local level. That is our interior. The mayorships, the council members, the aldermen, the commissioners, the people on the ground. Not at the state level, I'm talking about the local level in the cities. That's where the dismantling is beginning. And it's a cancer in this country that we really need to get rid of. Republican says, no pay, no work, and they are criminals. Like I said, they're gonna fleece New York City. New York City is gonna be so much more worse off than it is now, and that's the sad thing. That's the sad part. So, let me go over this article, and then I'm gonna get into some Chat GPT things that I looked up, uh, to move this conversation along. So, Trump administration agrees to allot partial SNAP funding, expects delays. Yeah, because again, I explained this to you guys under the what does it call it? Oh no, deficiency. There it is. Under the Anti Deficiency Act, they cannot fund anything from USDA completely, excuse me, or fully if they don't have the funds. So I explained to you guys it costs $9 billion to fund SNAP. They have 5.25 billion within their actual coffers. Okay. So they can't spend all of it because they have to leave so much in reserve. So the Trump administration agreeing to use 4.65 billion might fund SNAP for 2 weeks. That's it. It can't fund SNAP for the month. So this stupid, I'm sorry, these judges out here that are just not intelligent saying you have to do, they can't. There's laws in place. They cannot put out more or approve more than what they have on hand. And even what they do have on hand, they can't use all of it. They have to have a percentage of reserve still left over. Like there's laws, ma'am or sir, whoever this ridiculous judge was. And this is what happened during Donald Trump's first term, if anybody can remember. It was a lot of lawsuits and courts, and he spent more time in court than he did running the country, pretty much. And here we are again because they know they can get away with it. So they know they can get away with it, and it is it's unnerving. It's really unnerving. And Michonne says ICE got to show up by droves. Facts. His family is wealthy, right? And I've been fighting this thing for a long time. And Michonne has. She's from New York. And, whatever she can do, whatever advocacy, she can bring to the table, she's been doing. Right. But I encourage anybody from New York, please stay involved and stay engaged. So the Trump administration agreed to use 4.65 billion in US Department of Agriculture contingency funds for partial supplemental nutrition assistance benefits during the ongoing government shutdown. The allotted money is set to cover about half of the 42 million recipients' benefits for 1 month. It can't. And SNAP is estimated to cost about 9 billion every month. Okay. The math is not mathy. They cannot put out more than what they have on hand. This is why you see this 4.65 number. That's about half. It'll last about 2 weeks because that's all they have and they can't do anymore. The USDA will not tap into other funds or cover any new applications, according to the department. Patrick Penn, Deputy Under Secretary of Food, Nutrition, and Consumer Services at the USDA, said properly allotting the funding will likely take anywhere from a few weeks to up to several months for at least some states. Wow. Okay. The U.S. District Judge John McConnell in Rhode Island suggested using other allotted funds for SNAP, such as that of the Section 32 Child Nutrition Fund, but Penn argued using billions of dollars from the child nutrition for SNAP would leave an unprecedented gap in child nutrition funding. This all goes back to Congress, y'all. This is Congress's fault. And they're trying to have everybody else scrambling. Again, The anti-deficiency fund clearly states you cannot fund more than what you have on hand, period. So the judge saying, well, why can't you just pull in funds? Because you can't, dummy. Sorry. I hate to say it like this. You're a judge. You need to read. Legally, they cannot do that. This is a situation where if you're going to use these particular funds, short gap, it can only come from this allotment. You can't put more money into it. You can't move any funding around. It doesn't work that way, sir, judge, you person who can't read and doesn't care about anything about any laws. Just a myth. So McConnell and U.S. District Judge Indria Talwani ruled Friday that the Trump administration must fund SNAP, also known as food stamps, after USD said it would not tap into the roughly $5 billion in contingency funds allotted for disaster relief. Okay, and that was November 3rd was the deadline for the administration to release a funding plan. They can't do it. Because here's the thing, he can be like, yeah, we can release 4.65 billion, but that's it. It's only gonna last for 2 weeks. That's it. That's all you got. And you cannot just dump money into the USDA program because everything that they get has to be apportioned by Congress. So you can't just move stuff around. So the person that decided to donate $130 million to keep the troops funded, they can do that because that was a straight donation. But you can't make a straight donation to the USDA because their funding comes through Congress. Like, I need people to read. I need people to stop it. We have these measures in place to keep us as a country solvent. Just a mess. Sorry, y'all. And people ask why, do you ever get upset, founder? Yes, I do. I do get upset, and I'm upset with this one in particular. Okay, so the news media on the left were quicker to highlight restrictions and potential delays in funding. ABC, that leans left, also noted Senator Amy Klobuchar, who said it's not enough to do the bare minimum. The administration should stop playing politics with hunger and use all available resources to ensure that Americans can put food on the table. Klobuchar, you need to do your job and make sure that the government's not shut down. How about that? Because it's not the responsibility of the administration. It's actually Congress's job to do this. And we're going to go over that in a second and just kind of outline what's really happening behind the curtain. So the Hill stated the SNAP lapse has become one of the most visible signs of the government shutdown as it approaches its 6th week. And the Washington Examiner said there's no sign of lawmakers in either party coming together to pass a funding bill anytime soon. Both parties right now are disgusting and they need to stop it. So I asked some questions. I said, what is still being funded during the government shutdown? Because I wanted to know, like, because there are still some areas of our government being funded, even though we see things that aren't being funded, right? So they gave me a summary breakdown. So what is funded? Mandatory spending programs that do not rely, okay, on annual appropriations remain funded. These include things like Social Security and Medicare. So when they were like, oh yeah, your Medicare is going to be affected, you see they shut up and they stopped talking about that because it wasn't true. Social Security and Medicare keep going during the government shutdown because they're not contingent on the budget annually. Okay. Now, certain essential exempt functions, some government operations tied to national security, public safety, or revenue collection carry on. For instance, U.S. Customs Border Protection, right? Tariff fee collections continue. U.S. Department of Homeland Security has contingency plans covering disaster relief payments and some fee-funded agency operations. So they're not going anywhere. Yeah, Custom Border Protection. Look, ICE agents are outside because they're paid. Just saying. Right. Now, some programs receiving Alternative or emergency funding, for example, women, infants, and children, which is WIC, was at risk but received 300 million from unspent tariff revenue to keep going. So again, there are some things that can be funded that way. Services funded via fee collections or that aren't appropriation based. Some agencies continue operations because they are funded through non annual appropriations or fees. So we have to keep that in mind. When something is tied to the appropriations bill, it has to get approval annually. Okay. The ones that don't need that approval, they're fine. They're getting paid because you don't hear everybody whining like, oh my gosh, everybody in the government's not getting paid because there are people in the government that are getting paid, especially the members of Congress who I think should never be paid during this time. I don't think they should be paid at all, period. Really. They should never have a salary. They should have what they call a per diem where they have to travel back and forth to Washington D.C. and if they're eating and they're lodging or whatever, that's all they should get, and they should have to put the money up front to pay for all of this stuff and then submit receipts and get reimbursed. Period. They should never have been given a salary because that's where we are right now. Because see, they're comfortable. They're not struggling. They're not suffering. They don't care. Yeah, it's that part that bothers me. So, what isn't or is uh, severely impacted? So, discretionary programs subject to annual appropriations, many day to day federal agency operations, grants, new hiring, research funding, contract work, etc., are paused or curtailed. Grant programs and state aid funding that rely on new appropriations, for instance, Head Start preschool programs, are facing large disruptions because their grant funding was delayed. Some benefits aid that depend on new funding authorization, even though safety net programs like SNAP are mandatory in structure, their implementation can be affected by timing. The shutdown threatens to interrupt food aid for some, right? Now, federal employee pay, right, for those furloughed, and many contractor services, many federal workers are either furloughed or working without paycheck, or I'm sorry, and contractors are being impacted. So, some operations of the judiciary, for example, the federal courts announced on October 17th they ran out of funding to sustain full paid operations and can only maintain limited operations. Right. So, some people, it's thing. There's no work being done. So Uncle Coldwater says they should get a living wage only and never be able to play the stock market, right? It should be against the law to do certain things. Exactly. And Patty Cake says their staffers are struggling. They don't even care about them. Right. They don't. They don't. Staffers aren't getting paid. Oh, it's crazy. So, why this mix happens? The federal budget is built on two major kinds of spending: mandatory, which flows automatically under law, and discretionary, which must be funded each year via the 12 appropriation bills. When appropriations lapse, Congress does not pass funding for the next fiscal year or a continuing resolution by October 1st, discretionary programs are immediately affected, right? So some agencies have carryover funds, right, based on funding or other resources like tariff revenue that allow certain programs to stay afloat temporarily. What this means for for you talking to me and for my work, because I did do some grant writing. I don't do it anymore. Please don't ask. But it was something I was involved in. Says if you're engaged in grant reviewing or editing or managing programs connected to federal funding, expect delays in new discretionary grant awards or funding rounds. Programs that rely on federal appropriations may be suspended or put on hold until the shutdown ends, right? Programs with mandatory funding or alternative funding sources are less at risk in immediate suspension. Okay. So Asked me if I wanted a detailed program of programs that are still funded versus those that are shut down. I was like, yeah, because I want to know. So we know the mandatory Social Security and Medicare, right? Short term, right? There are some other ones that are done. For example, some state welfare or food benefit programs note that food and cash benefits will still be issued in the near term while federal funding is unclear. So there are some programs that normally rely on annual appropriations but continue briefly because agencies have carryover funds unspent for prior years, right? And that's what they call that little rainy day funds. And Claire, yeah, Republican says, "See you later. See you later. I know you got to work." He's the hardworking gentleman. Like I said, one of the best um, drivers in the business. So programs and functions that are paused or um, delayed or at risk, right? Discretionary programs funded via annual appropriations. So many programs run by agencies that rely on annual appropriations are shut down or severely limited. So we got the grant programs, new funding rounds, new federal contracts, many of those are frozen. Now, here's the one that was interesting to me. The food assistant housing homelessness programs are under strain, right? Some programs like WIC assistance are at risk because they rely on annual appropriations. Though they may continue short term, states report looming funding gaps. The SNAP program is facing uncertainty. Some states warn of possible interruption if funding isn't restored. Now, people would think, why isn't SNAP mandatory? Right? I think that's the bigger question because people are like, yeah, people have a right to eat and all this other stuff. I'm like, but it's not mandatory. It's something that they have to approve every year. So it has to be a reason. I would just think because of fluctuations, people being on the program, more people or less people or whatever. Right. So, housing and homelessness service programs are flagged for potential disruption. Programs serving children, youth, and families experiencing homelessness may be unable to continue if the shutdown drags on, right? Workforce, federal employment, and contractors. So, about 670 federal employees are estimated to be furloughed, and roughly 730,000 continue working without pay. So, we've got close to a million people working without pay, right? That's crazy. Contractors and many hourly federal workers may be out of work or working without pay. Wow. And Uncle Coolwater says, why is no one asking the question of why are so many people on Snap? That's an awesome question because there shouldn't be more, there should be less. Right? Right? But that's the point is, and here's a potential answer to your question. The point is, this is the way you dismantle a system in a country. You have to take out their social programs first. You have to overload it and overwhelm it until it implodes. And that's putting people on it that don't belong on it and making sure that they have social safety nets that your citizens don't have. Because what's going to start happening is your citizens are going to start looking at these people that have been given that leg up and they're going to want to harm those people. I'm telling you, they want to create civil unrest, and this is the only way to do it. They can't do it any other way. They can't bring in martial law any other way. They have to starve the people. So you've got federal employees working with no pay. You've got the SNAP benefits all awry, and you've got so many people on it, and there are more people being added to it every day, every month until what? It implodes. And it's like a bomb going off. Yeah, it's a good question to ask because it asks the other question, where do we go from here? Right? And Sassy Lady says, Tuesday greetings to you too, Sassy Lady. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning on Unfiltered. Vision News. And Michonne says, "Thank you, founder." And she says, "They're all millionaires anyway." Most are. And she says, "Nobody is contacting me who runs these programs in NYC." Interesting. And it is part of a plan on the front, really. Civil unrest. Yep. And the Chuck Schumer shutdown. It is very crazy what's happening. But, at the end of the day, again, I keep telling us, we can get out of this. We can do this, but we have to make sure that we're really doing what's right by one another, because that's really what it's all going to come back to is humanity. Yeah. So if they have them working with no pay, and they do, right? They should give some form of paperwork that they can give to all their bill collectors to pause, right? Any collections because of the government shutdown and move all those payments to the back of whatever they owe. That would be outstanding, right? They're not going to do that. And when people are unfortunately evicted because they can't pay their rent or their cars get impounded because they can't make their car payments, we're still going to have illegals who are in Chicago on a rent strike because they're afraid to go outside because they don't want to get deported, but they're being protected. We're going to go over that in a second. No, things that make you what? Yeah, that's happening. That is happening. So I wanted to bring, this definitely to our attention, but going over to the whole rent thing, I said, who's behind the rent strike? Because to your point, Uncle Coolwater, yes, people should be able to get letters, especially those that are working for the government. They got to work every day. How are these people even getting back and forth? Like gas money? Like, can they at least get a gas voucher? Right? Like a gift certificate? Something. Can they get something? And it's those things that can be done, but are they being done? That's the bigger question. So, who's behind this whole thing with the rent strike in Chicago? The core organizing body is is the tenant rights group, All Chicago Tenant Alliance. Two specific tenant unions spearheading the current strike are Belden Sawyer Tenant Association in Logan Square and Fuertes Inquilinos de Broadway, okay, FIBC in Uptown. I'm like, not going through that. They are striking against landlords, investors such as 33 Realty and Concord Capital associated with investor Andrew Millard, who triggered it. Buildings were acquired by investors who then did not renew leases of existing tenants and planned luxury renovations, leading to probable displacement of longtime renters. Okay. Tenants report sharp rent increases, threats of eviction, lease non renewal, and disruption of community stability as reason for the organize. The strike began in March of 2025 with BSTA and expanded in April with FIBC. Well, here's my thing. Okay, so you've got all these people that are renters. They knew this was coming. Why didn't anybody like move? Why aren't you getting other buildings that they can afford to live in? Because guess what? These people can still move you out of these buildings. You don't own anything in here. And this is the biggest problem with where our society is going. This happening right here. Because when someone rents and they don't own it, the people who own the property can say, you know what, we're just going to level out the property and make a parking lot. Do they have every right to because it's their building? They are not obligated to house anybody. So this is interesting, right? What are the demands? What's the rhetoric? The tactic is a rent strike. So tenants withhold their rent. So they're not even going to pay the rent. until their demands are met. You don't have a demand. You don't own the building. You don't have any rights to this. It's just it's weird what's happening. I feel bad for the people that it's happening to, but this is another problem in our society that we're going towards. People being renters and leasers and not owning anything and being subject to people that they can come and they can level it out at any time and you will not have your own place. Home ownership should be the number one thing that we are pushing, but people cannot own their own homes because they don't make enough. And right now, with this whole government shutdown, what if somebody loses their house because they can't make their mortgage payments? I mean, the whole thing is a powder keg. That is just, it's so sad. It's so, so sad. And so I wanted to look at also Congress, right? And I said, are there any examples of members of Congress admitting that both parties negotiate behind closed doors, right? While the public thinks they disagree with one another. Okay. So, yes, there are multiple public acknowledgments by members of Congress, right? That much of the real negotiation in Congress happens behind closed doors while the public sees disagreements. Okay, so in 2019, 2020, the House Election Committee and Modernization of Congress captured this remark. The need for secrecy in negotiation process was a theme. Behind closed doors, you can ask questions like, how far are you willing to go? Where do you draw the line? This acknowledges the negotiations do occur in private so that concessions may be considered before anything is aired publicly. And where I was going with the question was mainly okay, there are times when we see them fighting, but they're fighting to get us riled up when they know good and well they've already got a plan and when they're going to trigger things. And yet they're getting us upset on the other side of the curtain. Do you know what I'm saying? So if we look at this as a curtain issue, behind the curtain, they know what they're going to do, both parties, exactly when they're going to trigger it, when they're going to open things, when they're going to do all this stuff. But on the other side, because we don't have that information, because we don't know, they use our emotions against us. They use information against us, and it's disgusting. But that's what they do. In 2017, even on bipartisan measures, House and Senate leaders prefer to manage all bargaining behind closed doors as the negotiators um, adage goes, nothing is agreed to until everything is agreed to, right? Right. In the debate around the Affordable Care Act, a former congressman, now Vice President Mike Pence, and this was when, tweeted, it's simply wrong for legislation that'll affect 100% of American people to be negotiated behind closed doors. Stop that. You're just being crazy. You know they're going to negotiate this stuff behind closed doors. Are you trying to make yourself relevant? You just want to be a part of the conversation, but nobody likes you. Like Republicans don't even like you. They boo when you come on stage. They booed you at the NRA. Who gets booed at the NRA? But it happened. Happened to Mike Pence. He's been in hiding ever since. And Michonne says repair is the answer for us. Yeah, but we have to bring about our own repair, and there are ways to do it. I'll be bringing that out later this week, right? So while these examples show that closed door negotiation is acknowledged, they don't always clearly show a member saying both parties agree publicly, but actually negotiate together behind the scenes. In fact, much of the commentary highlights one party or intra-party group using closed door tactics or critiquing that lack of transparency. Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, I wanted to see, how health insurance stocks are affected by this shutdown because there's always somebody making money off of this. Okay. There's always somebody making a dime, making a quick buck off of the suffrage of others. You should say it that way. So if they have to, sadly enough, and I know this may sound really sad. If they have to conjure up a crisis to make somebody else some money, they will. They will. And I lay this at the feet of our Congress because you guys participate in the stock market. The very companies that fund your campaigns, you write legislation for them and you buy the stock right behind that. Y'all are trash. Like we can't trust you at this point. And you sit there, well, why doesn't the public trust us? Because you're trash. Because you've shown us how horrible you are. And you continue to do it. That's the thing. You continue to do it. You're not changing. You continue to do it. It's gross. So health insurance companies often rely on government programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and the Affordable Care Act for a large portion of their revenue. Okay. But remember, I told you the items that don't get shut down are these programs. They're continuously funded. They're not missing any money. That's all I'm saying. The insurance companies aren't missing bills. So Medicare, Medicaid, and birth certificates, these are usually considered mandatory spending. So payments may continue, but delays in administrative functions like claims processing and approvals can occur, causing short-term operational disruptions. Like you're going to get your money, but it might not be for another 2 weeks, but you're going to get paid. Yeah, that's what's happening. ACA subsidies. If a shutdown affects IRS operations or federal subsidies, insurers may face delayed payments, increasing short term cash flow concerns, but they're still going to get their money. It's a concern. You're not going out of business. Stop that. Enrollment and market uncertainty. Shutdowns can delay federal website operations like healthcare.gov, affecting open enrollment periods. Uncertainty about government funding can reduce consumer confidence, potentially lowering enrollment in ACA plans or supplemental programs. But they're still going to be funded. Yeah. Long-term perspective. To the bottom line, a government shutdown can cause short-term volatility in health insurance stocks due to uncertainty about federal reimbursements and enrollment. But most large insurers are resilient because their revenues are not fully dependent on government operations. Yeah, because they still get public money. All of their stuff isn't tied to the government, but they do get the supplemental parts. Mm. The length of severity of the shutdown are key factors in determining the actual impact. So, the insurance companies, they're not really impacted the way you would think. So I said, can you give me a stock report for members of Congress for September? Right? I wanted to know like who's investing what. And so it gave me this. And then I was like, yeah, this is what I want. So here are some trades that were done in September, right? Now, these are some tech stocks, PANW, which is Palo Alto Networks, done by a member of Congress. They purchased, right? So a lot of them in September purchased a lot of tech stocks. They didn't purchase any healthcare stocks. And that's what I was trying to find. If there was anything traded in healthcare, like United Healthcare, for example. Now, United Healthcare shows multiple disclosure entries in September of sales. So they were selling it off in September. The broader congressional trading data set covers healthcare stocks, but I found no reliable accessibility that shows a pronounced surge in buying, right, of healthcare stock in one day or week. The data set covers equities across many stocks, including healthcare. So that's what I was trying to find. I was like, did anybody buy a lot? But it's interesting that a lot of them sold it. in September. So October hasn't come out yet because we're just now into November. So that I would say probably about the mid-November we'll see um, if there were any influxes in who bought and who sold. It says for one majority healthcare, United Healthcare, the dashboard at Quiver shows a trade on September 12th, a purchase by a House Democrat, anywhere from $1,000 to $15,000 of stock. Now, those stocks are, I want to say, with United Healthcare, what, maybe $200, something like that. I was looking at some healthcare stocks because I have a little thing down here, and it's like Yahoo stocks, and I was just like, oh, I want to see what this looks like. No, I just got a little curious. I was like, okay, I want to see, the stocks, right? Like what's happening. And so when I did that, it brought me to here. And so what I did, no, I don't want to install that, is I just kind of personalized it. And I said, well, I just want to have a watch list and find out, you know, what's going on with some of these stocks like United Healthcare and all these other things that I found when I just showed you. Their stock, it's trading at like $333.79 per stock. So it's under $1,000. So when these members of Congress are buying this stock, they're getting multiples. So when that stock goes up, hey, they're making some good money. Now the tech stocks, in Nvidia, right? $206. That's still, you could still get in, is what I'm saying. You could still get into the stock market if you're looking to buy. I'm not a planner or anything like that, but it's interesting seeing how United Healthcare, how there was such a dip in their stock. I was really like, wow, that's interesting to see how it did have a spike, right? But now it's kind of leveled out if you get here to November 3rd. But, it was trading a little bit higher. Like right here about October 8th, right? Had a nice little spike here in September when there was, and that was the threat of the shutdown, right? The threats. And it's going up and up and up. Now it's starting to go down. And, like I said, these members of Congress buying the stock, it's very telling. And this is another entry shows a sale, right? Not a purchase, but a sale on September 12th by the same representative. So she bought and sold on the same day. Weird. So was it a mistake? Or, the tip that you got wasn't a good one? Just saying. I'm just saying. These are things that I usually have questions about. These are the things that keep me up at night, you guys. And I said, I think this is another question I had. Are there examples of members of Congress admitting that both parties negotiate? Oh, we went over that. Okay, I think I went over everything over here. The last thing I wanted to go over, I'm trying to go through this quickly because I want to get to the a video that I have for you guys. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. So the fate model, I want to bring this up to us again because it says, do you think influencers have been used during the government shutdown to carry out fate model, which is focus, authority, tribe, and motion? Also, do you think the current government shutdown is being used to collapse the economy to bring in digital currency and or martial law? Okay, so we went over the fate model. So during the shutdown, it's not unusual for governments, parties, or major media outlets to use social media influencers, pundits, or sympathetic creators to control the narrative, calm or amplify public sentiment, rally specific voter groups, right? So it's plausible and even likely that digital influencers are being coordinated directly or indirectly to shape public perception using models similar to fate. That doesn't necessarily mean a formal operation. I think it's formal, because you've got these members of Congress now who think they're influencers and they're on TikTok. And I mean, when I see Chuck Schumer making a video that's going to be on Instagram or TikTok, it's like, this is nauseating. These are members of Congress that should be doing the work of the people, but they've got to reach the younger people. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're not influencers. Or maybe you have been the whole time and you just haven't been doing your job. And if the country implodes, maybe it's our fault for putting you in office, because you're really not there to do the job for the people. There's that part. So I was saying, is the shutdown being used to basically take down the economy and bring in a digital currency? It says, the U.S. government shutdown affects economy, confidence slows public services, and a strain on business and workers, right? So in summary, the economic or digital currency manipulation theories remain unproven, but the environment created by a shutdown does make populations more vulnerable to top-down solutions. So if we start hearing solutions like, hey, this might be a great time to shift to this, or we need to look at, bills, and that's another thing that I'll be looking at this week to bring you guys. If I find anything odd, to me, this is ripe for the collapse, because you've got so many people dependent on the system, and the only way that the system goes down is if it implodes. And if it is this them forcing that implosion, that's the question that I have. And with that, we're going to get down to our next video. I think somebody else has another question. It's weird because if you guys see me over here like looking down and scrolling, it's because the way StreamYard has everything set up. And Michonne says, Chuck is a joke. Mr. Schumer, she's talking about him. She says, Chuck hasn't changed in 20 years. He hasn't. He hasn't. Chuck has dual citizenship. He does with Israel. He sure does. And I guess a congressman actually just put out a, what do you call it? A bill against members of Congress having dual citizenship with Israel, which I'm okay with that. All right, but let's get to our last video before we get out of here. I just want to know what you guys think.
Is there anyone that thank God because he had you on his mind?
Yeah.
So as you take the wafer that represents the body that was broken for us.
Yeah.
I want you to lift it up, because when you break this is the last time that something will break in your life.
No.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Come on, bruh.
This is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad. No, I said this is the day that the Lord has made, which means he had you on his mind. When it was nothing and he formed this world, he had this day on his mind. Because the Bible said this is the day that our God has made, and we shall and be glad.
There is a point to this video. Just hang in there with me, guys.
Here we are. The table is set. The most sacred moments of the Baptist believer, which is this Holy Communion.
Of the Baptist believer, of all believers, huh? It ain't just for y'all.
My brothers and my sisters, it was during the Great Depression, and while folks were losing their jobs, while folks were losing their homes, while folks were losing hope, in the midst of all the loss, Wall Street could not understand there was one particular industry that was booming. The industry that was booming was the alcohol industry. The interesting thing about it is, the alcohol industry was booming because the truth of the matter is, in the midst of all that pain, the world was searching for something that could give them temporary relief. But I know something that's in my hand that's not temporary, but it gives me eternal glory from day to day, night to night. And what's so powerful about the Holy Communion, my friends, it's not that we just do this in religious form and fashion. Well, what's so impactful is because it puts us in a place of remembrance. It puts us in a place of knowing that in spite of all we go through, that we know a God who made an ultimate sacrifice because he had us on his mind.
You're doing good, son. You're doing good.
I don't know about any of you, is there anyone that thank God because he had you on his mind?
Yeah.
So as you take the wafer that represents the body that was broken for us.
Yeah.
I want you to lift this wafer right above your head. If it's a bread at home, if it's a potato chip, whatever you have,
I hate when y'all do
I
that.
want you to lift it up. Because when you break this is the last time that something will break in your life.
No.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Come on, bruh.
FBI, open up!
What are we doing, ATL? Stillbirth. Afterbirth. Need a new birth. Why do y'all do this?
Can you break it and eat? At that same time,
I hope y'all church break.
Jesus takes out, we don't know if it's Marlowe, we don't know if it's Cabernet,
Are you kidding me, bruh?
but he did take out some wine.
Why do y'all gotta try and be so relatable during a serious time? Y'all play too much during communion. Y'all play too much during communion, and hell gonna be hot. Hot.
And he tells them, he says, listen, this wine, though it's sweet, represents the blood. It represents the blood. And I don't know about you, but there's some stuff that's happening in this world. There's some stuff that's happening in this country. And look to that neighbor and say, the blood still works. Come on, look at that neighbor. Can we be a Baptist church and say the blood still works? Come on, the blood still works. Before we drink, I want you to understand what you're about to drink. Blood still works over your family. The blood still works over your finances. The blood still works over your kids.
Why can't we go through one service without finances being mentioned? We can't get through a service without the blood of Christ to cover your finances. It'll get you out of debt. something always gets back to them finances, bro. Them finances and you. Can something be about Christ? My God.
I want you to look to that neighbor and look him dead in the eye as if you Big Mama. And I want you to speak to him and say, I plead the blood over your mind, over your finances, over your family, over this campus, over this country, over the White House. I plead the blood. Oh, that felt real good. I plead the blood over my kids. I plead the blood over my home. I plead the blood over my church. I plead the blood.
That's not a church.
Over this city.
Well, actually, yeah, it is. Church of Satan, huh?
I plead. Yeah, we got to get back to some old school church. But we plead the blood.
No, y'all need to get back to some old school church where y'all read the scriptures, huh? This is the dumbest church in America.
It's in the power of the blood that no matter what happens with SNAP, that this blood still works.
Lord, not the SNAP.
So in the blood, he opens it up.
He ain't opened nothing up. He had a cup.
In that midst, he tells them to take and drink. But hear me before I have you drink it. I want you to understand that in this cup, it's not whiskey. It's not vodka.
Please stop.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
You see what I'm saying? This is pure garbage, bruh. Why do y'all do this? And y'all don't see a problem with it. This is stupid.
To my old school fellas, it ain't old fashioned.
This is terrible,
But in this cup represents the blood that was shed for you and me. So when you drink this cup, allow it to do the workings. When you drink this cup, allow it to do it because it's stronger than what you can think, what you can imagine. Say cheers.
Okay. And, I'm playing this video just to show you guys just like what's happening, you know what I'm saying, outside. And the one thing that he's supposed to remind people of is that you need to make sure that you are reconciled. And if you're not reconciled, pray to be reconciled, because when you drink, right, as a believer, and you've got, things like unsettled, you drink condemnation on yourself. And that's what I was waiting for him to say. Not said. That's very scary.
Say cheers. Say cheers. Because this is the only drink you need for this year.
Denied. Cheers, bruh. Say cheers. Because this is the only drink you gonna drink for this year. Trash. Y'all play too much. Play too much. Lord have mercy.
Take and drink. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
And had the audacity to mention the triune
Come
God.
on now, dog. Come on, man.
Stillbirth, afterbirth. Need a new birth. Y'all need to close y'all doors up. This the synagogue of Satan here.
Yeah. And this is the part that's harmful. Because right now in times of trouble, people turn to God. And I don't want people to be misled. But Cool Water says there's such a thing as singing in key of the song. I don't know man, how many bad notes I'm hearing in this clip. I know, right? If I'm not mistaken, foundational Black Americans were segregated, and the Depression didn't necessarily affect us like it did everybody else. Am I wrong? I don't think you're wrong, because we were already at the bottom. There was nowhere else to go. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're like, well, y'all complain about no food. We didn't have no food. We know how to work this out. Just saying. And Dr. Harry says, I'm dying with his commentary. He is pretty funny. He is pretty good. His Global Impact channel. And yeah, I brought us that because I want us to remember we are in a season where people are going to be taken advantage of emotionally. Just like I started off my show with the information that I had received from the NAACP. You know, like I said, a couple of years ago, I joined and I didn't stay, and I guess I'm still on their mailing list. That they decided to send me something that was completely untrue. And as far as I'm concerned, as an organization, they need to be disbanded because they're mixing politics with emotional rhetoric. It's a lot for me because I'm like, I know you're coming from the point of the Democratic Party because I see the Democratic talking points in your letter. And you're the only party talking like this. Oh my gosh, you know, they're, bringing people down with IDs. Black Americans, we know how to get an ID because we're Americans and we get them and we're not denied them. Like, what are you talking about? It's really weird, the fear tactics that they use. And that pastor there, I was like, why are you coalescing everything with alcohol? Because see, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So those are the things that are on your heart. That's what's in your being. And you're sharing this with the congregation. It's like somebody we definitely need to pray for because none of that really sounded great. And I feel bad for him because it sounds like he has a problem with alcohol or he had a problem with alcohol, you know. And Shimon says it's a show, definitely. And the NAACP is brutal. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. It really, really is. But with that, we're going to end today's stream. Thank you guys for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. I hope you got a lot out of it. I know there was a lot that I went over, but there are just things I want us to be able to look out for, be mindful of. Definitely, last point, be on the lookout if they start talking about financial collapse. Okay? Let's stay prayerful and vigilant. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. I'll see you in the next one.